thank you, and welcome to Melbourne. I hope you are having a good week and excited about all the news. So I'm very happy to be here with you today, and let's go straight into it. So you heard a lot of things during the keynote on how we are innovating on all the different fronts, from AI-ready data center, digital workspace, and digital resilience. What we're going to focus on today is about future-proof workplace. So that's what we're going to focus on. What we mean by future-proof, I'm sure you heard it so far already this week, is pretty much where the work is happening, being in the office, in the branch, in your car, sometime when you are on the parking lot getting to your office, or even in the factory, in your industrial environment, when you need things to happen. That's what we're going to focus, and let's go straight into it. So when we look into, look back, some of you, I can see in the audience have been here for some time. You have a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom, right? And we went through many technology disruption. So internet that changed completely the world. You've heard Ben Dawson at the keynote, that was very interesting. He said, how the industry has evolved, how we enable the world. If you look into mobility, cloud, how things have evolved as well with that. And now, for the last few years now, it's been around AI. And AI is creating an amazing environment for the next disruption, and we need to be ready for that. When we look into AI, there's a lot of trends that are happening. We see a multiplication of number of agents that are going to be in your infrastructure, about security, how is that going to impact security. But let me take an example. Just earlier this week, I was talking to one of our customers, and they were mentioning about an AI use case I've never heard about before, which is in the branch. In the branch, they have a retail space, and now they want to do live translation. So can you imagine we are in Asia, where you have so many countries with so many different languages. You go to Japan, for example. You go to Japan and you can go and talk into your native language, and you can have live translation in the store to be able to purchase anything. That's the kind of use case that we see happening, and you can imagine that puts a lot of constraint on the networking infrastructure. Being from the traffic pattern are going to change, the intensity of the traffic is going to change, the bandwidth that you're going to need is going to change. So a lot of things will evolve, and we are just at the beginning, and you need to get ready for that. Bottom line, what I'm trying to tell you is you need to really rethink how your network infrastructure is going to allow you to enable those different use cases into your business, and how you're going to be able to leverage the technology to differentiate. And that's why you will need to think about how you build your network to enable all of that. The good news is you're in the right place. Cisco have been investing on that, and we have been building a lot of things to help you to do that. And there's a few things that we are focusing on. The first thing is around agentic ops, and we're going to drill down around that, on how we can do that, how we can drive operational simplicity into our day-to-day operation. And I'm going to have my colleague joining me to go and deep dive into that. We're going to talk about scalable device. We have been launching a lot of new devices, even this week. So we are going to have Matt go and cover that. And finally, security and the network together. Anila is going to go and deep dive into that. Just as a reminder, there are a few things that we have launched today, this week at Cisco Live. The first thing is around the global overview and the cloud management. We now, as you have seen in the main keynote, from the dashboard, you can see all your devices, from a Meraki managed, dashboard managed device, as well as your Catalyst Center device. We have now the fabric that can be cloud managed, which is pretty interesting. We have the new unified branch technology that we have launched that really allow you to scale your deployment of your branch, where you can do network as a code. You can use a CI/CD pipeline to configure and deploy your branch. And finally, you have a lot of new devices into Wi-Fi 7, new access points that we have launched, new routing platform that we have launched, and Matt is going to go through the detail to that. Let's stop the talking a little bit, and what I thought we will do that might be more interesting is we are very lucky to have an amazing person with us today. And I'm very happy to welcome on stage Michel Fernando. Michel is Superintendent of OT Networks at BHP, and we are going to have a quick chat with you. So please welcome on stage Michel. Michel.
Thank you.
Oh, welcome. So, quick question, Michelle. Obviously we're in Australia. When we talk about mining in Australia, everyone knows what mining is and everyone knows who BHP is, but we have a very international audience. So for the people who are watching live, tell us a little bit more about BHP. Who is BHP and what do you do at BHP?
Yeah, so BHP is a mining organization which is spanning global operations across Australia and Americas. We operate in the most of the harshest and most remote areas and evolving in a very dynamic, evolving environment. Running networks in that is the biggest challenge. And my role is doing OT networks. Quite surprisingly, yesterday I got asked what is an OT network in mining. So what OT networks in mining does is it connects machines, sensors, and control systems to make sure mining runs. And it comes from whole trucks to drills to sensors and monitoring services.
Okay, that's fantastic. So now when you look, you are at Cisco Live. Cisco is about networking. We've been doing that for a few years now. What are the trends do you see in networking and how does it impact the mining industry overall? What have you seen, through your experience?
So it was really interesting to know about the AI-ready infrastructure. And I think in mining, we have been doing that for a while because we have been chasing every single packet for a while. And it is about low latency, high throughput applications. And I think we have got an OT environment which is ready to take on the challenges of AI.
So, I don't know how many in the audience or in the live audience actually know, when you think about OT, what are those specific challenges that you see in this OT environment? What is it exactly? What are those challenges that are specific to those settings?
So the most biggest challenge is we operate wireless networks. So in all wireless networks, it is a known fact that the RF environment is the most critical for performance. So in mining, the terrain is constantly evolving, sometimes by the hour. And also it operates in very dynamic environments from bushfires to sometimes floods and extreme weather. So adapting an outdoor industrial wireless network to quickly react to that kind of nature is one of the key challenges we have got.
It's funny you say mountains. You are literally moving mountains every day at work, so that's pretty interesting. So now let's go to a different view of the networking. So there are the OT networks, the IT networks. You have global presence all around the world, right? You have to connect all those different remote locations. So when you look at your experience, what approach to designing this connectivity to connect all those different branches, what have you done to do that, and how do you approach that design, right?
So I think even in mining, the enterprise technologies like SD-WAN is quite prevalent, but now what is interesting is we need to bring it back to the mine. So from the corporate offices into those remote locations. Traditionally, the OT network and IT network did not want to mix together, maintain separate infrastructures, separate nodes and everything. But I think for future with the enabling AI and all of that, we need to look for opportunities to converge IT and OT networks in a very secure solution.
That maybe you are giving me the lead to the next question. You knew it was coming. So you connect everything. Tell us about security. How do you secure all this infrastruccer, right? Do you have any, once again, your experience, 20 years in the industry, and we've known each other for many years. Any guiding principle you can share maybe with the audience around security for those environments?
So I think for mining industries in particular, security should not be an afterthought. Whenever we are designing from the start, it should be incorporated into the fabric. So SD-WAN and taking it to the mine is now the next phase we need to do so that we can maintain the OT-IT separation, but still allow both physical infrastructure to be shared, because we can't run two networks in a remote location in a harsh environment. So we need to learn to live together and converge through secure practices.
Yeah, and it's really about leveraging the skill set that you have in your team to secure on those two infrastructures. So that's fascinating. So now when we look into, so you have connected, you have globally in the mine, you've done security. How do you think about, and how do you, we talk about digital resilience, we talk about digital day-to-day operation. So how does it, what does it mean for you in the mining industry? How do you monitor all of that? What does it mean operational resilience for mining, right?
So Five nines is not an unknown in mining, especially for autonomy or autonomous operations. So it is making sure we know everywhere where the RF propagation models are. So we want networks which can self-detect, self-heal, and self-configure. That is my dream, but right now we do most of these things manually. And observability to know before the truck stops that there is something going on and a small anomaly is happening in the mine in terms of our network is really important for us.
That's really interesting. I believe you have even been using Thousand Eyes to be able to do those kind of things. So we'll hear from Prab in a few minutes. So maybe the next question is, you talk about connectivity and you mentioned about how wireless is critical in your environment. Can you maybe explain to the audience what do you mean by cellular? You have cellular, you have wireless, connectivity everywhere. What does it mean for a mine and for you when you do your design? Tell us how you think about it, right?
I think in this day and age, a lot of people think cellular is everywhere and the wireless technologies is just cellular, but the reality is a little bit different when it comes to those remote mining operations. Wi-Fi still plays a huge role. So new wireless technologies, I don't think it's one or the other. It is about understanding how to merge both the benefits of cellular network, but also use Wi-Fi technologies hand in hand, and so that we can get the best of the both worlds.
Oh, that's really interesting. I have, maybe before we go to the next presenter, I have two last questions. The last one is, Ben had a fantastic slide at the keynote about AI, hype, value, the hype over the value. So I'm just curious, you're in mining. What does it mean AI for you? When you think about AI, when you think about your role as, managing the OT networks and re-engage into that, what resonates with you when you hear about AI? What do you think about? How does it impact what you do on a daily basis?
So for me, if I'm a little bit selfish, for me and my team, having the same capability like the AI canvas and Thousand Eyes and observability, that kind of a thing is really good, especially the auto-generated incident report. I think a lot of people in operations would love that. However, for me, what AI means is ability to, when I think about the mining operations and the operators, giving them information at the right time, the right information, so that they can make informed decisions on how to do predictive maintenance, how to make sure that we are applying the safety and solutions. And for that, it is so important that we build the AI-ready infrastructure, and connectivity is that big missing gap right now where we are operating.
No, that's very interesting. So you're saying yes to all the AI tooling we can give you to help you to operate,
yes,
but you also have to solve the connectivity for your environment, for your business, yes, to leverage AI use case. Fantastic. So last question. When you look into the future, right, what is your strategic business priority, right? When you wake up in the morning, Michelle, we want to know what is it that you think about and what do you want to do from a business standpoint, and just share a little bit your experience on that.
So I think for me, it would be the resilience and observability is really key, because we operate in those environments and knowing what's going on is really key for us. So more investment on understanding how we can have that better visibility and observability in the network is a key strategic tooling sets we should be looking forward to, so that the networks can itself self-heal and adapt to the environment. And the other one is really important for us would be to make sure that our network operations and security is on the cutting edge.
Well, so first I want to say thank you. I want to do two thank you, actually. Thank you for coming here and coming on stage. I know sometimes it's not very getting out of the comfort zone, but you've done fantastic, so thank you for that. Thank you for the trust into Cisco. And thank you because you are making me very easy to transition to the next speaker. You talk about your business priority being observability, right? And let's drill down a little bit on what we do. And I'm very happy to welcome on stage Prab, that's going to go and tell us a little bit more about what we do in AgenticOps. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there you go.
Thanks, Michelle. I really appreciate you joining and sharing your insights. Hi, everyone. I'm Prab, and I wanted to kind of walk you through why agentic operations is a key pillar for us across future-proofing workplaces. And first off, just like defining what is agentic ops and how is this sort of evolution of what we've always thought about. First off, I think most of us likely already use agent systems in our personal lives anytime you're using ChatGPT or Claude or any of the frontier models, which is really around how do you actually build this new paradigm for operations that is built around not just observing and recommending where problems are occurring, but also taking action and going further in simplifying your operational workflows. And so, what I want to do in the next 10 minutes is really talk to you about the pillars, the foundation of the pillars that we're building towards enabling agentic operations and ways we've already done this across our Cisco platforms. So first off, I think if you just talk about the basics and getting the basics right, we recently announced the ability to essentially manage across your Catalyst Center and Meraki environments a unified management platform that allows you to operate all your on-prem and cloud infrastructure. This is really key because if we want to be able to enable agentic operations, we want to make sure that we're providing you a single management platform where you can operate, configure, troubleshoot your infrastructure at scale. And this is really sort of the pillar that we need in order to enable that. Second, we've also recently announced the ability to bring fabric orchestration to the cloud. You've traditionally done this across Catalyst Center, where you operate SD access and enable adaptive segmentation for your on-prem infrastructure. We're bringing that to the cloud. So you can orchestrate your environment and actually enable adaptive segmentation, which is really around understanding intent and how users and devices should be configured with the right policies to access the right applications. And when we think about AI and agentic operations, it's not just about how we're enabling this within the dashboards. We're enabling AI across the entire infrastructure, API, and operational layers. First off, today, if you use on-prem access points or cloud-based access points, we are using machine learning today and AI to optimize your radios. Actually, most recently, AI IRM has seen to essentially improve radio resource management experience by up to 40% by dynamically turning radios off or on based on client traffic and experiences seen across an environment. We're obviously also enabling AI at the control layer. This is not something you see, but it's about how do you actually do things like endpoint analytics. So if we're trying to understand what policies to set for end users, understanding what users are on the network is what type of user this is, what type of device this is, uses AI at that layer to identify the right endpoints and apply the right policies. And lastly, AI in the operational workflow. And this is really what I'm really excited about and what we've heard about our AI assistant and AI canvas really being this paradigm for how you interact with your data, how do you measure experience, how do you react and proactively manage these experiences for your users. And both the AI assistant, which is domain-specific assistant to help you configure, manage, operate networks, and AI Canvas are built upon our Cisco Deep Network Model. And this is really key because in order to enable the advanced assistant capabilities that we need to enable, we need to build network-specific large language models, or in this case, a small language model that allows you to troubleshoot using the specific information that you have. So we've been hard at work training our deep network model on CCI level question and answers, looking at Cisco University documentations, and in the future, looking at a golden set of TAC cases to help you be and have that assistant in line within your products to be able to troubleshoot. And as we actually continue to see the frontier models develop with GPT-5 and Claude 4.5, the deep network model, because it's being trained on specific Cisco information that's been hand-curated, will continue to outperform some of the frontier models that we see. So I'm really excited about the work that we're doing here, really at the foundation layer to ensure we can reason through problems for you when you really need us. Now, if we roll over to the video, I want to actually show you this in action. This is essentially our Cisco AI assistant in our cloud dashboard. And we're going to walk through an example where we actually configure a wireless network. And I'm going to run an automation that says to the AI assistant, I'd like to configure a wireless network across both my on-prem and cloud environments. It asks me, would I really like to do this? It asks me some information right in line within the assistant, asking for the SSID number, specific authentication encryption modes, my passkey, and as I enter those in, it'll go ahead and essentially instantiate under the hood what's called a Cisco workflow. And it'll again confirm the request, again, because I'm going to make a change, it asks and confirms the intent. And the assistant at this point really goes on and creates and analyzes your Meraki networks across on-premise, across the cloud, and it also generates an output report that would allow you to kind of verify what it went ahead and done, and you can go back and verify this. And this is the point where you actually go and just get coffee because the assistant does the work for you and multitask in areas that you need to be able to do that. So as the assistant goes ahead and kind of creates the wireless network, it'll generate an output report of what it exactly did, all the configuration elements that it was able to configure. And again, this ensures that there's consistency of configuration because most common causes of issues are configuration drift over time that cause outages. And then I can go ahead and essentially verify that information and across both my on-prem where a new SSID has been configured and across the cloud where the new SSID that was just configured shows up. Now, if we roll over to sort of the next video, which is really around not just domain specific, but across multi-domain. And this is really exciting because it allows us to actually pull in not just information from Cisco platforms, but also third-party platforms that you rely upon to be able to troubleshoot live across multiple teams in real time and generate what's called a generative UI dashboard where you can pull in ServiceNow tickets. It understands context within its context window. It looks at the details that you need. And imagine a level 1 engineer that's essentially trying to triage this issue across a ServiceNow ticket can actually just ask the assistant that's embedded in the AI canvas to troubleshoot. And it actually understands how to troubleshoot the ticket based on the deep network model. It's able to actually retrieve data directly from Thousand Eyes in this case to observe the metrics that it's seeing. It's able to see the end-to-end loss that it's seeing. And in this case, actually root cause analysis down to a specific device that's seeing the problem. And at this point, as a level 1 engineer, I may actually need to confirm with someone else on my team to actually understand what's happening. And so I can actually go up, understand the issue, and create a share link with a colleague of mine that needs to now go and further troubleshoot this process with me. And I can just quickly invite DJ to the team or to the AI canvas. It generates a summary of the entire troubleshooting process I've already gone through. That allows me to kind of cut down the time it takes to write up that report. And now that I've invited DJ, DJ comes and jumps back into that same AI canvas playground and is able to go further in the troubleshooting process using his or her own expertise. And in this case, DJ looks at the information that it's seeing and wants to correlate this to application server logs. And by using the AI assistant, it actually, under the hood, calls the Splunk MCP server, is able to get information from the Splunk logs and pin that to the dashboard to understand how there's a correlation between network loss and application performance. And we can keep going on this process, but the idea being how can we use AI Canvas as sort of your multiplayer generative UI playground to troubleshoot live things that allow us to move from reactive operations to proactive operations. So we'll continue on this journey. I'm really excited about the work that we're doing here across really enabling agentic operations across each of the domain platforms and across multiplayer. And I'm going to invite Matt over on stage now to really talk about the infrastructure investments we're making across devices to continue to enable us for the AI era.
Thank you so much, Prab. So let's dig into the next piece of this AI-ready, secure networking architecture, which is the devices. And we talk about mission-critical environments very deliberately. And this doesn't refer just to things that we might historically have thought about as mission-critical, like an airport or a hospital. But the way we are all building our networks and using this technology to support our businesses makes it mission-critical essentially for all of us. So, what does it mean to build hardware? that is designed for this sort of mission-critical AI-ready environment? Well, there are three key pieces, and one of them at the top, at the foundation of the hardware, is on the silicon. And that's where we as Cisco are able to make use of our expertise in order to develop custom silicon for our hardware, for our switches, for our routers, and that gives us a lot more control over the device itself, the design of the device, what it can do. We can bake more security capabilities into it, we can make it high performance, we can make it more accessible for the use cases that we envision for the future. We also need to develop and design the operating system, and having a common operating system with common sets of capabilities that you can use across switching, routing, wireless. And then the last piece is a system-level design approach. We're able to think about the combination of that silicon, that operating system, the rest of the hardware design itself, in order to enable the hardware technology that can deliver on these AI-ready secure networks. And so I want to talk about some of the recent introductions that we have been making as we have started introducing new technologies for every place in the network. New switching, new routing, new wireless, new industrial devices like Michelle no doubt uses all throughout her installations. So let's jump into a few of these so you can see what they look like. First, I want to start with our new switching platforms. The Cisco 9350 access switch, the 9610 core chassis switch. And these new devices, of course, have all of the speeds and feeds, the high throughput, the low latency you expect. But they also feature new security capabilities, right? They are quantum resistant, post-quantum cryptographic ready. And this is an important thing for us all to start thinking about as we're deploying next generation networks that are going to be in service for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to come, because we've all been there, especially in some of those mission critical environments where you can't take them down. And so we've developed this new generation of devices in order to support the performance and the security that you need for these types of AI workloads. Just as an example of some of the systems thinking comes from our new extended fast software update capabilities, XFSU. It's a bit of a mouthful. And the idea here is, how do we enable the hardware to update itself as fast as possible without interrupting the traffic and taking down parts of the network? And if you're trying to watch the demo up there, good luck. It's too fast. I have a hard time getting a look at it, but this really emphasizes how fast and quick it is in order to run updates on these new generations of switches. And the time it takes to watch this quick little demo, you have upgraded your switch, and it's pumping user traffic through it. We've also introduced a new generation of our secure routers for the unified branch, for the campus. And again, these pieces of hardware are developed from the ground up to deliver the performance that you need, not just for routing, but also for the security capabilities that you want to run there. They support every different form factor, scale that you need, from small branches up to large data centers. We've introduced an entirely new line of industrial Ethernet switches, and I'm sure Michelle's got her eyes on these. Different form factors, different deployment models to support the modern factory, to support autonomous vehicles, to have large earth movers moving around, continuously connected, and I'll talk about some other technology that we're introducing there on the wireless front. So you'll see that at each place in the network, we're introducing new technology to support this new AI-ready secure networking architecture. On the wireless side, here at this conference this week, we've introduced the last models of our new Wi-Fi 7 portfolio. The first models we introduced here a year ago. The last set of indoor access point models we introduced here this week in order to round it out and support all of the different density and performance use cases you have. We introduced a new wireless LAN controller for small form factor, smaller deployments. And we also have made available a natively cloud-managed campus gateway that you can use to construct very large-scale campus networks that are fully cloud-managed without having to use the traditional on-premises managed wireless LAN controller architecture. So the last thing I want to mention is a combination of technologies that we introduced. Again, this idea of thinking at the systems level about how we can bring different use cases together in our hardware. And this is the introduction of our ultra-reliable wireless backhaul technology integrated into our enterprise wireless access points so that we can support ultra-reliable wireless backhaul, which we see in large-scale manufacturing operations, mining operations, as a very mission-critical, guaranteed connectivity, high-speed mobility way to connect devices in the same infrastructure that is also able to run Wi-Fi. And this is a truly important innovation because very rarely do we encounter environments where you want to have a proprietary wireless protocol, but not also have Wi-Fi for your laptops, for your mobile devices, for all of the non-proprietary devices that you need to get on the network. And so we've brought these together with that systems level thinking so that we can enable deployments that do both. And so I know this was a lot of pieces, a lot of new devices that we've introduced. And if you have a few moments, I highly encourage you, they're all over there. Line of sight from where we are right now. Go walk around, have a look, poke around, see, touch, feel the devices. Don't taste them, I do not recommend that. But at least see them in person. And so with that, I want to move on to the last piece of this architecture, where we think about, and I've mentioned this many times, where we think about how security fits into the network. We make the point that it's fused in the network, and it's not like you take some bolt-on security module and create a platypus sort of network where you are thinking last about security. Instead, like us, we all need to think first about security. And so with that, I want to hand it off to my colleague, Neela, so he can go deeper and talk to you more about that. Thank you.
So about 2 weeks ago, the CIO of one of the most advanced hospital chains in the world came to visit us at Cisco in San Jose. And I was surprised to hear we were having a conversation around networking, and the main thing that he wanted to talk about was security. Because he says, what I'm most concerned about in a world today where I have hundreds of thousands of endpoints connecting into the network, where every new device to treat my patients is getting deployed every week. My concern is that the impact of any hack just simply goes up every single week. His question to me was, how can we ensure that we protect our hospital network, not just against the attacks that are happening today, but the attacks that'll happen tomorrow? And one specific area he wanted to talk about was to get our view at Cisco around something he'd been reading a lot more about, which is quantum computing. As you see on some of the articles that we have up here, we are very quickly getting to the point where we're all going to have a new tool out there, and that includes the hackers. You know, what's special about quantum computing? Quantum computing allows us to be able to decrypt the keys that have been keeping us safe for so many years. I was just yesterday talking to a large university here in the northeast of Australia, and they've got a whole active project going and studying quantum computing. The funny thing is, it's not even that the CIO has to worry about what's going to happen in the future. What we're starting to see right now, what he has to be concerned about, are hackers actually grabbing the information today, extracting it today, to be able to decrypt it in the future. And so, why are we concerned about quantum and post-quantum cryptography? The idea is, if we take the keys that we have, the size of the keys, the rotation of the keys may be insufficient for the new quantum computers that are going to come online in the next 10 years. And so the question I get all the time is, you say that you want to fuse security into the network, but what does that mean practically? What can you do to secure your environment, whether you're a mining customer or a hospital or a retailer? Inherently, the way that you're going to protect your network for these new set of attacks is going to be similar. It has really 3 key pieces within the campus, and then we can think about going beyond. The first level is you have to think about the actual network devices. How do you ensure that those network devices are secure, and how do you make sure that you keep them updated to protect against the latest CVEs that are out there? Second, how can you protect the traffic that is flowing over your network? And then finally, how do we protect the users, the application, the devices that they're using to access your network? If you're able to protect at all 3 of those levels, then you can feel pretty confident that you have a secure network. So let's go through each of them one by one. The first piece, as I said, is ensuring that you have devices that are secure in themselves. what do you have to be worried about here? I mean, certainly you may be concerned around, hey, I just bought a switch. I just bought a router. How do I know someone didn't embed something in the supply chain? It got manufactured somewhere, it got to you. How can you ensure that no one has messed with that? But also, it's not just before you got it. At any time after it's deployed, you have to think about that someone could sneak in over the weekend and alter something on that device. So from Cisco's perspective, we have to take a zero trust approach. We have to take an approach that every time that device is booted up, we go through a series of checks to ensure that everything on that device is valid. And increasingly, as I talk about this, we have to do it in a way that is post-quantum secure. So what we have done with our latest generation of devices is that we've incorporated PQC, post-quantum cryptography, into all of the checks that we have in our hardware. So as you go ahead and you refresh your Cisco hardware in your environment, you're naturally going to get that level of protection. Now, point out, we're constantly being attacked. New attacks are coming out every day. And so you have to worry about also attacks coming from outside, targeting specific CVEs that are coming out. You're secure today. Tomorrow a CVE comes out. Are you secure tomorrow? I was recently in the northern part of England talking to a customer who said sheepishly, you know, the truth, Neela, is that I'm supposed to update my switches within 1 to 4 months, but do you know how often I actually do? I have switches that haven't been updated in over a year in my environment. Why? Well, we don't have that much time, but really one of the big concerns is there's never a good maintenance window for me. When is there a good maintenance window when I have a heartbeat coming from a patient 24/7 in a day? And so the question was, is there a way you could help me to not lose sleep at night, to keep me secure, even when I haven't patched my underlying hardware? And the good news is that coming very, very soon is a technology that'll allow you to do exactly that, called Live Protect. What Live Protect is about is utilizing a new technology called eBPF that has visibility down into the Linux kernel, the same kernel that is running on your hardware, with the ability to specifically see the instructions in the packet flow, to be able to observe or even block traffic that is going across your network that might actually cause harm. And so here I want to do a quick demo of this. Here what we're going to see is that we've got an administrator, and that administrator is looking through the CVEs that exist in their environment. In this case, some have been protected, but not all of the CVEs have protection. Here we see a CVE that is actually quite concerning. It's concerning not just because of its severity, but it's concerning because we actually don't have a patch yet. So even if he wanted to go and upgrade his switch, he can't do that yet. But that doesn't mean he can't be protected. And so we're going to go in and click in on this, learn a little bit about what that CVE is, and we quickly discover that we have to do something about this right away. And so let's go ahead and see how we can protect our environment in doing that. We can see that there's an actual device that is potentially affected by this CVE. And so I want to go ahead and apply a compensating control on that device to protect it. So here I'm clicking Deploy Live Protect. I'm going in and selecting the device that I want to protect with it and going ahead and clicking Next. When I do that, I have two options. I can either have observation and see, does that ever happen, generate an alert, generate a log, or I can say block that instruction, block that traffic. Depending on your environment, one or the other may be right for you. Regardless of which one you pick, however, you're immediately starting to track information. You can see whether that CVE is being accessed, that gets logged, and in fact, all of that rich information can be passed on to your SIM if you're using a SIM in your environment like Splunk. All of that information can then be passed to Splunk so that you can correlate it around all of the other information that you have in your environment around the CVEs that are out there and the threats that are out there. And so the point, as I said, is that Cisco is constantly working to keep each of your devices safe. Beyond the device, we have to think about protecting the traffic over the network. As you know, many of you are using IPsec, MACsec, WAN MACsec. All three of these are being upgraded to PQC versions of those with the key rotation, the key size that allows that traffic to be protected even in a world of quantum computers trying to decrypt that traffic. And finally, as was talked about earlier, when we think about security fused into the network, a network built for AI, we believe as Cisco that you want to think about more than just networking, more than just packet flow. You want to think about associating every flow with some type of policy. Whether you're just using SGTs, or you've gone more advanced and you've actually deployed a fabric in your environment, it is critical that every flow from end to end has policy attached, that you can apply that policy, and that that policy applies consistently across every element of your network. If you haven't yet looked into things like Cisco ICE, the ability to deploy SGTs, and fabric architecture, as we heard earlier, we now have fabric in the Meraki dashboard. This is something that you really need to go in and get a demo of. Finally, I want to point out that security doesn't end at the edge of the campus network. When we think about security, we also have to think about how do we extend that out. As I said, I've been meeting with a lot of hospital CIOs recently, and one of the constant themes that I hear is, I want to extend the patient experience from the hospital to the remote clinic. If I am here in Australia and I have a patient sitting in Ballarat who comes to Melbourne to be seen in the main hospital, when they go back to Ballarat and go into their clinic, you don't want the healthcare provider to say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't see all of the data because I'm not within the hospital network. All of the hospital chains want to extend that out, and so that requires things like secure SD-WAN, SSE in that environment, all working in concert with all of the technologies that we talked about, things like ICE and Access Manager. And finally, you want to ensure that you have a continuity of care, and that therefore requires assurance across the full spectrum of zero trust technologies that you've deployed. Only Cisco has every element and the visibility into every element to be able to give you that end-to-end control that you need. And so to wrap this up, what did we talk about today? We talked about the importance of operational simplicity in this new era. And that's going to require a new way to manage, with agentic ops managed from the cloud or on premises. It requires a new kind of device with a different level of scalability, as well as a series of advanced capabilities built into the hardware to be able to handle these new workloads. And finally, we need security that is fused into the very heart of the network. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a chance to go in and look at our demos and look at the replays. Thank you.